Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Band from Ringside.
Tonight on the Band from Ringside podcast, we have your AEW Championship final set with Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. The PWI 500 comes out. The bloodline gets even stronger. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Band from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks, and welcome to the Band from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Rodney Dangerheel. And sitting directly across from me, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Yeah, that shit was good. It's understated and subtle. Not usually the BFR trend, but good none.
It's a slow week. It's a chill week. It's chill.
We needed a slow week after last week. I mean, God
Chill
damn.
weather.
Shit.
Chill week of wrestling.
Nobody throwing chairs to each other. Everybody sit the fuck down. We gonna watch the fake
Nobody
fight.
biting each other.
And on that lovely note of biting each other, allow me to ask the congregation to bow their heads as I read from the latest edition of the Band from Ringside podcast, volume 274, chapter 3, verse 14, and the good smart saying, hashtag boo the heels. It's all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat the holy trinity of BFR. Like Bill said, it's a slow week, but I'm kind of glad it's a slow week. I wanted to focus a little bit on wrestling instead of the speculation of who's getting fired and who ain't getting fired.
And out there in our beautiful Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon, we have two beers. Zach Pullman.
BFR West in the house.
So here's why it's fine that there's interim titles in AEW. No.
I was about to say, here you go. Here you go. You can't even wait 20 minutes.
I'll tell you what, the first thing I saw this morning after, I got all my morning stuff out of the way is the first time I looked at social media, first thing I saw was the new trailer for John Wick 4 dropped, and I immediately go copy, share onto my man Two Beers page.
Yeah, I saw that
It was
shit. I was
7:06 a.m. I was like, here you go, dude. I know that you're 2 hours behind us, but here's something to wake up to.
Oh, shit.
And goddamn, that shit looks tight.
Mm-hmm.
That was an amazing thing to wake up to. I absolutely appreciated that. It really set the tone for the day.
Good.
And that I murdered a lot of people.
Oh, okay. I was getting ready to say, so you were just killing motherfuckers left and
Well,
right,
yeah,
huh?
just fucking, just all
There's a lot
tied.
of homeless here in Portland.
If you were gonna kill a bunch of people, though, it'd be a lot like John Wick, like a lot like just point blank to the face. Maybe riding a horse, but like looking all tired the whole time. Like, I can't believe they brought me back into this shit. That's the best thing about John Wick is that he's fucking exhausted and doesn't really want to be doing it. So we are coming at you from beautiful St. Charles, Missouri. Like I said, it was a slow week of wrestling, which is good. Maybe this podcast will only be like an hour and 55 minutes, but we'll make up some arguments about the PWI 500 or the top 20 that dropped. I'll tell you guys a real funny story before we start, just as a palate cleanser. I took my child to the park right down the street from us. It's kind of nice. She's walking really good now, and she holds my hand as we walk up there, and she smiles at all the kids walking by and everything. And we get up there, and she sees the big kids playing. They're probably like 5 or 6 years old, and she runs over because she wants to hang out with them, and she kind of like stands with this kid. He's probably 5 or 6 years old. And he's like, oh, look at the baby. And, like, his big sister's like, be careful with the baby around. And he's like, okay. And he, like, kind of starts playing with her, and she's laughing and everything. Then he turns around, puts his butt right up to her face, and makes the sound with his noise. He goes, pfft. And I go, whoa. I go, hey, let's not do that. And he looked at me and goes, I'm obsessed with farts.
Oh, no.
And I kicked him as hard as you could fucking kick something, man. I just fucking booted him in the next fucking week. Try to give my daughter pink eye, you little piece of shit.
Oh,
Fuck you.
that's good. That's amazingly funny.
He looked at me. He almost redeemed himself with the I'm obsessed with farts, but I was like, hey, don't do that, you little fucking punk. It was my first real dad moment as, hey, not my kid. Like, leave my fucking kid alone. So
anybody else's kid, but not mine.
Looking forward to a lot more of those. Without further ado,
Dr. Fart.
yeah, right, Dr. Farts from the rehearsal. Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, dealer's choice. Dealer's choice.
Yeah. I'll go with Raw. And SmackDown, all things WWE. A couple of things that kind of stood out for me on WWE programming this week. KO once again with another fire-ass promo in no particular order. It's just the first thing I thought of. I threw it out there. I wasn't sure what KO is now at this point, character-wise. Is he babyface? Is he a heel? Is he a tweener? I've had some people say he's the anti-hero. He's going back to his prize fighter roots, just, going for championship gold. I guess I just wanted to see maybe some more of a definitive role for Kevin Owens. Not saying he isn't doing amazing work right now, promos coming out, and then obviously having good matches afterwards. Seth Rollins, speaking of chasing championship gold, he throws out a tease of chasing championship gold, and then Bobby Lashley confronts him backstage over who is the true face of Raw, since there is no Raw champion. Something else I want to talk about here in a little bit. Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins intrigues me very much, just for the fact that I think Seth Rollins is one of the bigger names in WWE, easily one of the most over names in WWE, and I think that he and Bobby Lashley would have a good match. And then the third thing I wanted to talk about was basically Roman Reigns and the Roman Reigns undisputed title reign itself. The more and more I'm seeing guys come back, like Johnny Gargano coming back. You're going to have other guys coming to the mix, Drew McIntyre, so on and so forth. I'm starting to lean towards going back to the 2-title system where you have a straight-up Raw champion and a straight-up SmackDown champion. Somebody said on a podcast I was listening to this week they should have TV champions replacing the IC and the US title. So I'll let you guys pick whatever you want to talk about first, and we can kind of go from there.
Zach, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Roman Reigns versus Roman Reigns match at Survivor Series. How's that gonna work?
They haven't really cleared up.
I think that's going to be a 5-on-5.
They haven't really cleared up, man. We say that every year. We're like, this would be a good Survivor Series.
No, seriously. With Sami Zayn being the 5th member, that's a traditional 5-on-5 team. Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, just off the top of my head, that's 3 spots right there. You can throw 2 more guys in, and that's your main event for Survivor Series.
They haven't said, though, if Austin Theory cashes in. Does he cash in on the Undisputed? Does he cash in on the Unified? Does he cash in on one or the other? They haven't really explained it yet.
Well, there's only one to cash in on, so, I mean, we're not talking about separate titles.
Doesn't he hold 2? Doesn't he come out wearing 2 titles?
Yeah.
So there's 2 belts.
No, there's only one recognized
right now
title.
It's unified, but it doesn't always have to be unified.
Okay, but here's the problem with that. It's not like Austin Theory has come out and said, I'm challenging for the Universal title. He's coming out to challenge for the Undisputed Championship.
Who takes the belt off of Roman Reigns ultimately?
Cody Rhodes. If you're going to make me say a name, that's the one I think is going to happen. I think Seth Rollins would be a little more intriguing.
Zach?
Yeah, if I was hard-pressed, I would say Cody. But yeah, I like the idea of Seth. It's been a while since he's been top guy, and obviously him and Roman have history, and they've had good matches in the past. But
last
Cody
guy
seems
to actually beat Roman Reigns.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
Well, it wasn't a pinfall, but he won by disqualification at Royal Rumble here in January.
Oh yeah.
This was Cody coming out and beating Seth Rollins 3 times in a row. And with that, especially with the last match, as we get into our PWI 500 discussion later on, I mean, Cody Rhodes, even with the injury, just what a year for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cody Rhodes is the fun pick. You know, Dwayne is still hovering in the background. It's going to be in Hollywood. I wouldn't be surprised when he said somebody's got to come and take it from me. It could definitely be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Jason's shaking his head. No, you don't think that Triple H would put the belt on The Rock?
No, I think Rock would be more on the lines of John Cena. It'd be another way to get Roman Reigns over, have him in this upper echelon of great WWF/WWE champions. Rock would be a part-time champion. There would be a lot of pushback on that alone. As much as I love Rock, I'm not opposed to the match. The match would make sense. I'm opposed to Rock.
You do realize
the
like the pushback wouldn't get nearly as much attention. This would be like Burt Reynolds going over Bruno Sammartino in 1976, though, or some shit like that. Like it would be like The Rock is the biggest star in the world. He's in the biggest movies in the world. He is a fucking megastar.
When Rock came back and took the title off Punk, and Punk was it was the summer of Punk. It was 400 plus days. I had a problem with that then.
You did?
Yeah.
I mean, this would be like Schwarzenegger beating Hulk Hogan in 1988.
I get it, man. I get it.
I mean, it would really be something.
Look, if you want to put him in the ring, put him in the ring. I just don't want to see Rock beat Roman.
This would be like David Arquette going over. Wait, hold on a second. No, you know what? Never mind. Never mind.
Now you're taking it 2 steps too far.
That's funny.
The bloodline does get stronger, though. Solo Sikoa, in a surprise. I was watching it live when it happened. It was pretty fun. Solo Sikoa comes out, and right when he came out, you knew that he was going to take the belt off of Carmelo Hayes. I almost said it like the candy bar. Caramello Hayes.
I thought you were going to say Carmelo Hayes.
But he does take the belt off Carmelo Hayes in a good match, and this can only mean good things for Carmelo Hayes. As an aside, this means he's either getting bumped up to the main roster or he's going to fight Braun Breaker, which would be Braun versus Mello. I guess there's no Darko Milicic in this scenario, but that was brought up to me. That was Braun and Mello, but
that's great.
But now you have the bloodline. It's going to be fun seeing them come out on SmackDown.
Woof. Draped
4 guys, all draped in gold.
And Sammy just running around being the cheerleader.
They should have Sami Zayn keep trying to win other belts but keep losing. Or have him win like the 24/7.
I knew that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. That would be amazing.
That would be really good.
That would be the best and really only good use of the 24/7 title right now.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Let me ask you this, Zach. I was thinking about this just about an hour ago. With all that gold on the bloodline, is the bloodline
Oh, no. Don't do it.
a greater faction
Oh, Jesus.
than the Shield?
Kayfabe style, probably. I'd say if you're the PWI doing a kayfabe style list, you would probably have to bump the bloodline up over the Shield.
You have to bump them up over a lot of people.
Yeah. The only difference is they're better than the Shield was when the Shield was collective, but the Shield has 3 world champions, which the bloodline does not. So there is like kind of that angle. But as a unit, they didn't have the same kind of success.
It is pretty funny that somebody looked at those 3 guys and they were like, we're going to put those 3 in a faction. And because I think that all 3 of those guys have it, because whoever made that decision, whether it was Vince, whether it was Hunter, whether it was, Michael P.S. Hayes, whoever saw those 3 guys and was like, this is going to be the faction, I think they all have the potential to be huge. That person was exactly fucking right. What a call, though. Like, really, there's always... I hate doing this to Marty Jannetty, but there's always a weak link in shit like that, But like there really wasn't a weak link in the Shield. It's pretty astounding, actually.
Not at all. I do think it's hilarious. It just made me realize today. So like, Uso means brother, I didn't realize that. So like they're the brothers, and so whenever they say that Sami Zayn's an honorary Uso, it's like he's an honorary brother, which makes it even funnier because he's just this ginger white guy trying to get into the Samoan group called
I
the Bloodline.
always felt like an honorary brother standing outside of Jack Patrick's with Jason and a couple other black guys as we talked about the NBA. I was an honorary Uso, wasn't I?
Yeah, that scenario, he was definitely honorary.
Oh, yeah, Bill knows his shit, actually. Jason, what do you think?
Shit. It's a small lean towards the Shield just because, like Tubier said, all three members are former world champions in the same promotion at one time or another. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Bloodline, it's hard for me to say they're not at least one of the top 3 or 4 factions of all time when you got undisputed champions. Tag team, and otherwise you brought Solo Sikoa in. Now he snaps up the North American title. It would be hard for me not to say that they're not one of the best, if not the best. For me, you got 3 world champions, former
They even
in
got
one spot.
Heyman. Heyman's a bonus.
Yeah, they got Heyman, too.
Yeah, they do have Heyman, too. So, I mean, there's a lot to – you know what I mean. I love a good faction, and I love a guy that can talk in front of that faction. J.J. Dillon was one of my favorite managers, and the Four Horsemen is my favorite faction. When you put those two together, shit.
Mongo, right?
No.
So
No.
Mongo is looking real bad. By the way.
No.
I don't know if you guys have seen.
We don't talk about that version of the Four Horsemen ever.
No, but Mongo has MS. He looks really bad right now. It's crazy. He's like
That's why
wasting away there.
I didn't want to run him down. I just said we just don't talk about that part.
Oh yeah, Mongo was so great, man.
No, it really wasn't.
But in just in a different way. Like look back.
Absolute
those
fucking
Monday
bullshit.
I'm sorry. Quick side note for 30 seconds. When I was doing the podcast, put the times down to where everything stopped and started, there was more than one time where I was just like, okay, here it comes. Just let it ride. Just let it ride. Bullshit. Absolute unprofessional bullshit. I'm sorry. That's one of my favorite drops of all time. Hands down.
It's staying.
Oh, yeah.
It's here to stay.
The beef is going to have to find a new spot. That's fucking comedy. Dom and Ray, obviously, something else to kind of talk about for 30 seconds. Edge coming after Dom. Ray kind of getting involved, kind of costing, well, not even kind of costing, but getting Edge hurt and losing them. Edge won the match, but got hurt in the process. Apparently, he's quote-unquote out with an MCL sprain.
Shoot?
I say I don't think it's shoot. I think it's
because they concertoed his leg.
Yeah,
okay.
The coup de grace on
gotcha.
top of it. So I think that's another a way to try to get Judgment Day over. I'm not a huge Judgment Day fan, but I would give Triple H credit in the sense that he's maneuvering or putting Judgment Day in spots where they're relevant and they're winning matches on top of it. Open thoughts on Judgment Day going around.
Zach, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's a good act, and this is kind of make or break time, sink or swim for Dominic. So far, he's just been Rey Mysterio's son, who's also taller. He's just like tall Rey Mysterio's son. He doesn't really have like a character. Now it's his like opportunity to kind of break away and do something. But the faction itself, I was very hesitant at first or worried because it seemed like it was kind of cool with Edge, and then they like turned on Edge like so super fast. But it's been good. I think it's a fun faction. I'm enjoying it.
I'm pro Judgment Day, and I'm also here as I'm going to defend Dom Mysterio for a minute. I feel like he has been getting kind of ran down the last couple weeks as he has gotten more to do in terms of having a story. First of all, I'm pro Judgment Day with this Edge and Mysterio and Dom story because it's a story with some pathos. It's a story with some nuance. Rey Mysterio asking Edge to take it easy on his son, basically, and Edge being like, sorry, that's not the way that I run,
He kicked me in the balls, Ray.
But also the story that they're telling with Dom, they did a backstage vignette type of thing with Rhea Ripley whispering in his ear. Dom caught a lot of shit on social media about that, about him reading cue cards. Hey, listen, guys, that was focus less on the reading of the cue cards, because everybody does that, or lots of people do that. Tony Khan did it. At least they're telling a story. This is not just, these two people don't like each other. This is a father against a son, and then you bring in this bad influence, Rhea Ripley, Judgment Day. You have Rey Mysterio and Edge. Now there's a little bit of tension between them because the son is involved. This is an actual story that's being told week to week on Monday Night Raw, which we haven't gotten in a very, very long time. Like, actually one that I'm interested in seeing.
Agreed.
Not saying that's not. It was totally predictable that Edge was either going to win or Judgment Day was going to come out and ruin that match. But they told the story during the match that Dom was getting outclassed and outworked by this veteran champion, multi-time champion, and needed Rhea Ripley's help. I think using Rhea Ripley in this role is fucking perfect because it keeps her away. She's still involved on TV every week. She's still involved in a big way, and we don't have to be sitting here being like, well, when's Rhea Ripley going to be involved in the title feud because she's so good, she's such a talent? She doesn't have to be involved in the title feud because she's on TV all the time in a story that's actually, compelling. So I'm a big fan of that. I don't. It's weird to look at Dom and think, I saw this week that he's the same age that his dad was when they unmasked him in WCW, which is fucking crazy.
God, I'm getting old.
Because that means that Rey Mysterio, that just means that Rey Mysterio was so established.
At a young age.
So young when he started out. It's tough to not
He was junior.
Yes, he was Rey Mysterio Jr. at the time. That's very true. It's weird to look at Dom and not see a child, even though he's probably like 2 years older than Daniel Garcia. I don't look at them the same way. He is baby faced, but his dad is extremely baby faced. I'm just coming to Dom's defense. I'm saying let's let this play out because this at least is something that I want to see. I want to see where this goes.
I agree totally. Two other quick hits, and then we can move on if you want. There was a it's a 5-way elimination match on SmackDown to determine the next challenger for Liv Morgan. Ronda Rousey, I shouldn't say obviously goes over, but she does win in submission fashion. I believe she tapped out Sonya Deville to win the title. So now we're going to have the third match between Ronda and Liv Morgan for the title, probably at Extreme Rules. There was a little conversation post-match between Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey teasing the possible reuniting of that team. I'll just make it a two-part question. Thoughts on a third Liv Morgan Ronda Rousey match, and does Shayna Baszler get involved in said match?
First of all, I'll take this first.
You jumped on that shit quick.
Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan. I'm taking Ronda Rousey, and that is my stone cold lead pipe lock of the year.
Oh my God, no!
Of the year.
Oh God, no.
Stone cold lead pipe lock. Ronda Rousey goes over Liv Morgan.
I've never wanted to root for Liv Morgan anymore in my life, and I can't stand this woman.
If she doesn't go over Liv Morgan,
oh God, no!
Kurt Stallion is invited to my house in St. Charles to give me a chop. Another one. Bring your friend, Stallion. Bring Riddle. I don't give a fuck.
I can see this next week. We could just play this clip and see Liv Morgan pin Ronda Rousey.
I mean, it'd be fun to have Riddle here to give me a chop because...
Yeah,
because you got great weed.
Yeah,
I mean, we'd have a blast.
For numerous reasons,
We'd have a fucking blast.
We're going to do this real quick and then start smoking, right?
All right, Zach, what are your thoughts?
You're not wrong. I do not see Ronda Rousey losing to Liv Morgan a third time. Also, I did see something with Ronda.
Are you willing to make it a lock? Do you want to make it a lock? Do you want to make it your lock?
I don't know. Put me on the spot here.
Don't be a pussy. Do it.
This is what peer pressure looks like.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't know.
You heard it here first. Zach made it his Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock of the Year. You guys all heard it.
Oh, shit. Now I'm locked in.
Yeah, right.
But,
never said it, but just like, oh, wait. I said it. Oh, okay. Lead Pipe Lock of the Year. Cole Ronda.
what about the old women's tag team titles changing hands? I thought Jason might have brought that up. Speaking of women's titles.
Honestly, and I'll speak on it personally, that I never really had much of an investment in the former champions when it comes to Raquel and Aaliyah. Poor Aaliyah, I feel bad for her because, I mean, that now that she's not a champion, I mean, she's in a real bad spot because she's not really impressive on the main roster. She's done the NXT route. So, I mean, for Aaliyah, it's, you know, what can you do with her? Raquel is going to be a future world champion. They're grooming her as such. It's just a matter of time when and where that actually trigger gets pulled. But for Aaliyah, I feel bad for her because, like I said, I don't think that there's much of a future in WWE for her outside of more an enhancement than anything else.
I'm surprised they did it on a Raw, but
Why not?
I don't think I
They
don't
want it on a Raw.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that you could squeeze another match out of Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah. I'm not sure why they put it on them in the first place, but I mean, it's good that those ladies have the belt now. Now put the belt on Bayley and have them be the women bloodline, the Damage Control.
I don't know if we're getting that far, but I was going to say that would be another Survivor Series match that I can see happening, especially if you can get Sasha, Naomi, and Becky all back in time. You can make that a 4-on-4, maybe a 5-on-5.
Couple more things that you brought up. One of them, KO clearly doesn't miss scripts.
Nope.
When it comes to promos.
Nope.
Like he comes out and just rips
Don't need
a fucking killer promo just in the middle of Raw. Yeah, he's awesome. He's been on fire lately. No scripts is meant for a guy like KO, or even just, even if it's just Curb Your Enthusiasm style, just give an outline and let the guy just pull the string back and let him go. Also, I think that we should take a minute and really rejoice where we're at right now, that we can get a 12 or 15 minute match between Johnny Gargano and Chad Gable on free television, and just kind of let those guys go for a while with Johnny Gargano going over. But, Chad Gable was not my most underused guy 2 years in a row for no reason. I fucking love the guy. He's fucking awesome. I think I would love to see him put in a big time position. But it is notable that is probably one of those things that we would have brought up a year and a half ago. Be like, oh, wouldn't you like to see like Johnny Gargano versus Chad Gable wrestle a 15-minute match on Raw? Like, isn't that something you'd like to see? And now it's something that we're seeing, and it's something that we're just that normally we would just gloss over because we'd have to, talk about CM Punk shitting the bed and shitting all over the company or something else happening that week. So, just, let's just look at where we're at in pro wrestling right now.
Two Beer, what do you think your boy's ceiling is on the main roster? Is he going to be mid-card champion? Is he going to be world champion at some point? What's the ceiling?
I mean, Johnny's my guy. I don't see immediate world champ on him, but I can definitely see him, Intercontinental, U.S., something like that as a possible stepping stone to, I think Hunter's going to make sure that Johnny and maybe Ciampa, maybe they bring it back. They do something for WrestleMania and get him like a real deal WrestleMania story. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Is DIY
I don't see it happening immediately?
Is DIY the team to beat the Usos ultimately?
That's an intriguing prospect. I thought of them fighting instead of teaming, even though, yeah, they were an excellent tag team before.
Right.
They were excellent rivals. So
You think they fight first, or do you think they become a tag team first?
I can see them reuniting DIY, and then I don't know, maybe do something crazy like have Johnny turn on Ciampa this time. I don't know.
I think you got to reunite them first for the
main roster that
roster public,
seen him.
right? Yeah.
Yep. Or you just replay the story, not the whole story. Not fighting in an empty warehouse like in the middle of COVID, but you can replay that surprise turn for an audience of millions that haven't seen it yet. It's fine to reprise them.
It was a great turn.
An old hit.
Last question, and then I'm done with the one count unless you guys got something else. I'll pose this to Bill because you're the only person that watches NXT on the regular. I saw on social media that they're at the end of NXT they had the new 2.0 logo, but in black and gold.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think that means?
It was Shawn Michaels' voiceover talking about basically 2.0 is done. Now they're moving on to this new thing, but it was pretty vague. But it's clear that with NXT UK being done and them unifying the belts, that NXT is going to be something slightly different going forward. I thought the biggest news about NXT was Quincy Elliott. You ever see this motherfucker?
Yeah, I've seen his bro. I've seen a couple of his vignettes. That motherfucker.
Zach, have you seen this motherfucker?
I have not.
He's like a mix between Velveteen Dream and Viscera. That's not even. That's a pretty accurate description of him.
And I'll let you decide which. When you see him, I'll let you decide which is which.
Oh my God, he is something, dude.
Yeah,
he is really something.
He
came out and squashed some dude, and then he started like twerking on the ref and shit. Like it was really something.
Okay.
It is over the top, and he calls himself like the
diva or something,
mega diva or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, check out Quincy Elliott. If nothing else, it is pro wrestling. That is for sure. So let's get to that 2 count.
1, 2, 3.
2 beer. What's a 2 count?
I almost wish there was the ubiquity of wrestling broadcasts out there whenever like Gold Dust debuted. Just a bunch of dudes on
like,
podcasts.
What the fuck is this?
He was something else. He came out wearing a wig, painted all in gold. That guy is something else.
This big tit manager came out smoking a cigar. It's the greatest fucking gimmick ever.
I would love to see the backstage conversations between HBK and Quincy Elliott. He's like, go out there. He's like, twerk on the ref.
What? You want me to twerk on the ref? Yeah, twerk on the ref.
And he's wearing like a Gold Dust type outfit.
Very much so.
Seriously, check him out.
Go ahead, the 2 beer. Right. Sorry, we
I'm intrigued.
Put him in the G1.
No. You need to get that tattooed. Put him in the G1.
Right.
All right, we have.
If found, put me in the G1.
Will immediately die. So yeah, we can kind of go back a little bit just because there's this AEW World Title tournament. So we don't have to dig too deep into it, but just going back to Friday, Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. I, like a lot of people with Rampage, did not watch it. So I don't know if you guys have anything to say about it, but
I watched it. No, I watched it.
All right, cool.
I watched it. It was pretty tame by Darby Allin match standards.
That's what I was going to. Well, by both guys' standards, neither one of them really did anything too crazy, but it was still a solid match. I think the right guy went over. I like Sammy Guevara just as a wrestler. I gravitate towards him versus Darby Allin. Not knocking against Darby Allin. I just like Sammy Guevara a little more. So for me, the right guy went over.
Yeah, and they've just been crazy busy. We had family in town and stuff, so I have not been able to watch much wrestling because there's 2 matches on this Rampage show that I really wanted to see. The Claudio Castagnoli versus Dax Harwood for the ROH World Championship. I imagine that was a very well-worked wrestling match.
It was. It was 20 minutes.
Yeah, Dax
fucking ruled.
Dax does what he does.
Match of the week. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I was about to say, just really quickly looking at it, KO versus Theory, I think should get some love. Nothing really on
Cesaro versus Dax Harwood for 20 minutes for the ROH Championship on Rampage was the match of the week.
Look, I said get some love. Did I say better? No, I did not.
Okay, all right.
There could be a number 2. You know, I know Ricky Bobby says it's something different, but there can be a number 2.
I did one earlier.
Nice. Either way, I think Dax Harwood should get some love for Wrestler of the Year. I know he's a tag team guy, but every time you put him in a single spot, he delivers. And I mean, almost to the point where he over delivers, because I don't expect a lot from him, because in my head he's a tag team guy. But then when you put him in a single spot against like Claudio, enough said. He showed out. Claudio retained. It was a nice match. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, go out and watch it.
All right, I'll go out of my way. But yeah, those are the big things for Friday. Last night we had a pretty good Dynamite. It feels like, you know, this whole scandal situation with suspensions kind of brought some focus on the show from like Tony, where he's like, all right, this shit's fucked up. I need to like put on really good wrestling shows.
Totally agree.
It seems like, yeah, these are just good wrestling shows. So yeah, Sammy Guevara versus John Moxley opened it up. I will say Albany, not the hottest crowd for they didn't really get into this match too much. Not that it was like anything crazy, but it was pretty solid. They didn't really pop big until Moxley hit his finisher on Sammy.
Well, there was no doubt as to who was going over.
There is that. There's not a lot of heat. I think
that's kind of the problem with my problem with the match coming in, is that it took.
Also, I think Sammy Guevara was the wrong guy to have in this tournament. I would have put Claudio in the tournament.
Okay, but then. Okay, well, I'll say my argument on why I don't think Claudio should have been in the tournament or in the Casino Battle Royal match later on. I'll just say this. If you're going to do a tournament of champions, it should be guys, especially with AEW, it should be guys that have AEW roots in some form or fashion. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara obviously have those roots. They've been multiple TNT champions. I have no problem with that. Plus, the dichotomy of styles, I think, was a nice little way to, like you said, focus back on the wrestling and away from Punk, the Elite, and shit on the backstage.
So, yeah, definitely not a ton of heat. And, yeah, it makes sense whenever you say it like that. Nobody expected.
The only time there was even a doubt is when Anna JAS and Ty Mello came out, and then that's when it was like, okay, is this going to happen? Really? This is how we going to do it? But obviously, once again, right guy went over. It was still a good match. Nothing crazy. No crazy spots, but
it was all right.
Yeah. The right guy went over, and it was okay.
Yeah, we had MJF come out and cut a solid MJF promo. He had managed to get the Albany to boo him because they were really into him at the very beginning. But he brought up John Moxley's alcoholism, which is a total dick move. So, yeah, they ended up booing him. But nothing groundbreaking here from MJF, just more kind of a continuation of the storyline.
He had to go at the crowd quite a bit to turn them against him.
It took a while.
It took a while, yeah.
I will say this. The one thing that I took away from this promo was the fact that he assumed that John Moxley was going to win the title, and he would have to be wrestling John Moxley. He never really talked about Jericho / Danielson.
He mentioned him at the end.
All that much. But
I'll tell you what I think that means.
I think we should be on the same page, but go ahead.
Danielson is going to win next week.
Yeah, yes.
That's what I think that means. Because Danielson and MJF is fresh.
Yes.
And sounds exciting.
And if you can get Moxley on vacation, You can get Bryan Danielson
Yep.
his championship run. MJF could win or lose. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But to me, that and the way the main event ended really makes me think that Bryan Danielson is going to be the next AEW champion.
Zach, tell me about Stokely Carmichael.
No, you didn't.
That's why I do it accidentally every time. That time I did it on purpose. Stokely Hathaway.
God
Yeah,
damn.
so he's got a new faction for hire. They're called the Pelican Brief. Actually, no, sorry. They're the firm. It's the firm. But I know it wasn't a John Grisham reference.
That's
It's
a
like more
good
of like
joke.
doctor.
That is a good joke.
that was on point. That was on point.
Right when you said it, I was like, fuck, why did I make that joke? That is a good joke.
yeah.
I hope somebody calls them the Pelican Brief at some time.
Now you're a big time nerd if you do some shit
And
like
then
that.
Stokely Hathaway says it's a time to kill.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
it's actually more of a
He does kind
I
of look
call
like
Morrissey the client.
Yeah, he does kind of look like Samuel. That's all I'm gonna say. He kind of looks like Samuel Jackson. That's all I'm gonna say.
And then he gets
But,
Okada. He gets Okada, and they call him the Rainmaker. All right, I'm done with the I'm done with the Gresham jokes. I'm done with the Gresham jokes.
that
This is my new faction, the Runaway Jury.
Oh, so good. But I think what Stokely Hathaway was going for more likely was the Dr. Dre, AZ, Nas, Foxy Brown faction or super click. But anyway, kind of ran down the
Holy
gamut.
shit.
Crowd was kind of dead for this. They didn't really give a shit. After MJF's promo, they were just like,
Right.
whatever. But weird interaction with him and Morrissey. Basically just said, like, I know what he wants to do, and that's whatever he wants to do. And Morrissey just, like, stood there looking like he just would rather be anywhere else than right there. It was kind of weird. Stokely had to, like, tell him that he loved him, like, 3 times. Just trying to get some response out of him. It was, like, a weird interaction. But
Yeah, and it's kind of like after the last couple weeks with AEW, it's kind of like, wait, is that Morrissey actually like being pissed off that he's part of this clique, or is it him playing that he's mad about this?
He's mad about everything all the time.
Right.
yeah, no telling. But it was definitely kind of significant. But everybody else was, pretty typical running down. They went gold. Ethan Page got a pretty decent crowd reaction. He wants the All-Atlantic title, and the Ass Boys want the tag team title, and we got Lee Moriarty who wants the ROH Pure title. So all of those make perfect sense. We're probably going to get the Acclaimed beating Swerve in Our Glory. God, I can't believe I said that. And Arthur Ashe, and then if you have the Ass Boys, going after them, those would be good first opponents for those guys. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out, but at least the individuals have direction and they laid it out, and this is what their goals are. So.
That's exactly what I was going to say. At least it's a faction, and Stokely Hathaway laid out what their goals were. And I also kind of like the idea of them being a faction on retainer. Like, that is something that we've never seen before. That is something that hasn't happened in wrestling where they said, yeah, we're with MJF until he stops paying us. That makes sense.
Ted DiBiase.
It'd be funny if they went into an interference, like say MJF versus Danielson, and this is the way that MJF actually doesn't win his cash in is Bryan Danielson pays them more to not betray him, and he's like, I got WWE money, bitch.
Right. You
I
forgot
got
my
Total
time.
Divas money.
Okay, you forgot my time.
I think
over
Stokely
here.
Hathaway rules. And before we get Jason's thoughts on this, I just want to say that Stokely Hathaway's line about him getting to know all the people in backstage, and he was just like a snake in the grass, and he was getting all his information. Now he has all this blackmail information, and he talked about watching Living Single with House of Black was actually really funny, and there's no way more than 1/10 of the paying people in that crowd got that joke or got how ridiculous it is that the House of Black would be sitting there watching Living Single.
Living Single, yeah. Either or. I mean, shit, it would be.
I'd be surprised if Jinder Mahal got that joke. I mean, that is a fucking that's a joke for old people.
I don't know what it is.
Living Single was this TV show on
Fox?
Maybe Fox that lasted like 2 years. It had like Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
And it was like 4 black women living in the city. It was like
Queen Latifah.
It was like Sex in the City for black chicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before
But it was
Sex
a
and the City was even a thing.
It was
And
a
that joke
sitcom.
is hilarious.
Yeah, I even wrote it down. Like, watching Living Single with the House of Black sounds really funny to me.
That is such a good joke.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the visual alone. I was just like, that's great. We are living. You can see, Alice or Malachi Black in the back. Living.
Oh, you know the
single.
song. I didn't watch it.
Hey, I'm a black man. I'm supposed to watch it.
Yeah, I'm a white guy.
2 things that I take away from this whole thing. Number one, the
That
faction
really
upon
tall chick from the Cosby Show that was also on different
Erica
different
Alexander.
world. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Factional retainer, I'm not a huge fan of. Either it's kind of like the Notre Dame with the ACC. Either be an ACC participant or don't. I don't like this shit where you can make it on the fence. You said we haven't seen this before. I say we have. It was called the $1 Million Good Team with Ted DiBiase at the head. And he just had his own fucking money behind shit like that. Now, number 2, the faction itself, the firm. I like the name, but unfortunately, Tony Khan has kind of shown me that factions outside of Chris Jericho don't really mean that much. So I need to see some longevity from the firm before I even start getting excited about it. I agree with you guys. I like the fact that they came out. This guy wants this guy wants this. So you're now setting up, future matches outside of Morrissey that gets to do whatever the fuck he wants. But I have reservations ultimately.
My wife actually said that she needed to see some longevity out of the firm before she would get excited about it too.
Man, hell no.
But
You ain't shit. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Let me do it right.
all right,
You ain't shit.
moving on. We had
Sound like
a
you did that
match
live, but I just pressed a button and it happened.
Jungle Boy had an open challenge that Jay Lethal answered. This was totally fine. On paper, it sounds way better than it was, but it was still like I'm not talking shit on it. It was a good wrestling match, but in my head that could have been more. But Jungle Boy gets a nice win.
Tapped him out.
Yeah, tapped him out. I mean that's no joke. I mean that's a young boy going over a veteran.
At that point, I think that's I don't really get what more you wanted. Jungle Boy won, and he tapped him out on top of it. I was like, really? Damn.
I'm just saying the match, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking of a younger Lethal or a non-kayfabe injured Jungle Boy. Like, they're both kind of known for, being pretty quick.
I just think it's notable because that's Lethal doing business.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Like, he tapped out for Jungle Boy,
Right.
which is notable to me.
For sure. In a scenario where Jay Lethal is obviously established and Jungle Boy's story is just being told, where he's getting Luchasaurus and then Christian whenever he comes back.
By the way, can I cut in here real fast with an aside? And I don't know how long this is going to take, but
Tom Brady's taking over, boys and girls.
So Eddie Kingston had this. He was on Bubba Ray's Busted Open show, and he was talking about how he doesn't get along with Punk, Claudio, Daniel Bryan, and he named somebody else, right?
Oh, you talking about the thing I put up on Friends of BFR?
Yeah, Eddie Kingston was on Busted Open.
I can't think of who the fourth person was, but yeah.
It was somebody that was well established, somebody that it doesn't seem like, it was Punk, Bryan, Claudio, somebody else. And he goes, a lot of these fans want to use these insider terms like they're one of these boys backstage. It's like, motherfucker, you're on a fucking Sirius XM show using all these terms with these ex-pro wrestlers. And you want to make fun of me as a fan for using insider terms like on one of the boys backstage? Motherfucker, stop fucking using them then. How about you not go on the radio show, you fucking asshole? Totally turn me against Eddie Kingston. Fuck Eddie Kingston. I'm anti-Eddie Kingston now. Come find me, Eddie Kingston. You can chop me if Ronda Rousey doesn't go over. If not, I'll chop you, motherfucker. Come over here, Eddie Kingston.
Oh, I wish this was a visual media right now. Like, my mouth is a gate,
Fuck
like,
this.
eyes wide open.
Fuck
Like,
that.
what
I'm
the
tired
fuck?
of being made fun of by these fucking wrestlers who think that I can't use insider terms because everybody else that came before them wrote books that I read, like fucking Mick Foley, like fucking The Rock, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, I don't watch all these interview shows where they use these terms. Am I not supposed to use babyface and heel? Am I not supposed to use going into business for themselves? Am I not supposed to use fucking going over? Am I not supposed to use doing business? Fuck you, Eddie Kingston, you fucking dork. Fuck you. I hate that shit.
Okay.
Don't fucking make fun of me for using insider terms like I'm one of the boys. I am one of the boys. I'm one of the BFR boys. And I'll use whatever fucking term I want to. Come find Jason.
Hey, oh, man.
He lives in South City, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hang on, man. Hey.
He works a couple different restaurant jobs. I know where he hangs out on Friday nights.
Kingston cannot come into my
1000 Olive
restaurant.
Street. He's about 5'9". Looks like Gary Payton.
Right?
48 years old.
Shiny bald head. You can't miss him.
Motherfucker.
I will say the quote directly that you were talking about, and we're naming the fourth person. Straight quote from Eddie Kingston. Just ask me, I'll spell it out plain and simple. I don't like Jericho. I don't like Bryan. I don't like Claudio. And I don't like Punk. Those are the people that I don't like in this company. There's nothing you can do or say that makes them any different to me. I know who they are. Okay, so Jericho is the fourth
No, say the
person.
rest of it.
Well, now, that was at the very end. Look, it's a whole soliloquy on the shit. Go to Friends of BFR. Find the shit.
On Facebook.
On Facebook, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, but Friends of BFR on Facebook.
I can't stand being made, like, I just don't like that. Like, all I'm doing is using terms. Like, everybody likes to use terms like they're one of the boys. Fuck you. Like, that's the term. That's the phrase for it.
Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a rite of passage in order to use, like, words that are, you know.
You heard it, Eddie
Yeah.
Kingston. Zach Pullman said, fuck you, too.
I agree with the sentiment. I agree with your sentiment.
Come find him. He lives in Portland, Oregon.
I didn't know that Bill was going to cut a promo on Eddie Kingston. That's kind of how.
Oh,
Whenever
man.
he said I have an aside here, like you cut a promo like you were going to have a match with.
I could barely fall asleep the other night thinking about how mad I was at Eddie Kingston. Fucking slob.
I'm dead.
Do some cardio, you fucking slob.
There we go.
Oh, now is with the body shaming. It was we're just
We were doing
spiraling
so
here.
well.
Absolute fucking bullshit. Unprofessional bullshit.
Oh,
All right.
All right,
Thanks for letting me
moving
do
on.
that.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Find me, Kingston.
So this is what it looks like when I rant. Okay, fair enough.
glad you guys got that off your chest.
No, he got out of their chest. I'm sitting over like, what the fuck? Eddie Kingston gonna kill us all.
We had a Hobbs match versus the skinniest guy in Albany, New York, and he just smashed him up. And they're not done with Hobbs and Stark, so we'll see how that goes. Didn't really think they would be, but we had
DiMartino. I wrote down his last name.
had a
Yeah,
name?
yeah. He said he had a name. Yes.
His name was Robert Paulson.
It's John
Sometimes
Doe.
the jobbers don't have names. You
No,
know?
they said his name.
I wrote down on my notes Hobbs versus Jobs.
I knew somebody. I knew you go write like Haas versus Enhancement Talent. I was like, no, I ain't gonna write his Enhancement Talent. I'm gonna give this little DOA his last name.
No, I thought that was Steve
DiMartino.
Jobs. I thought that was Powerhouse Hobbs versus Steve Jobs.
I
did write Jobs with two B's, though.
I might have skipped over the star of the night, and if I did, I have to apologize because we had the preeminent pizza maker in professional wrestling, Luigi Primo, on the show. Alex Marvez tried to get an interview with him, but who was it that kicked him in the face?
Ethan Page.
Ethan Page, yeah. Then Ethan Page cut the promo on just like kind of bullshit silliness. Nobody takes anything seriously in this company, and of all people, Dan Houser. Man, I mean, there was some really great wrestling. This like 40 seconds was like one of the highlights of my night because Ethan Page kicks him in the face. Luigi Primo's dead, done for. Danhausen comes out, and Ethan Page talks about how he's going to basically kick his ass next week, but Danhausen thinks he's talking about somebody else, and he's like, yes, we'll kick his ass, and then he realizes that he's going to get his ass kicked. So, I don't know. I'm pro Danhausen in these small, chunks. I think he's good for, these 90-second things.
I love him with Best Friends. I think he's just the best friend, but they're like ingraining them into the faction itself. If Ethan Page loses this match, I'm just going to be really disappointed.
He's not going to. Danhausen's a jobber. He's like a super
I would like
jobber.
to think so, but weird shit happens in wrestling, and I'm not saying it's going to happen on Friday next week, but if it happens, I'm going to be really disappointed.
It'd be really funny if Eddie Kingston's fat ass came out there and he was like, I'm just going to lay it out there. There's guys I don't like. I don't like Danielson. I don't like Punk. I don't like Claudio. I don't like Jericho. I don't like Danhausen. It's just,
damn,
I don't like that. I don't like that son of a bitch, BFR Bill. Who does this guy think that he is?
Come find me, Kingston. I'm using all sorts of terms. Oh, Punk Bigfooted Tony Khan. Oh, how's that for a term, Kingston? I'll use all the terms. I've been listening to Bubba Ray for fucking years.
Hang on. Bigfooting is a term?
Oh, my God. I mean, me and Kingston know about it.
Oh,
Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
But we're the boys.
I was about to say,
but I'm the boys in the back.
I was about to say, clearly I'm watching too much Stardom to know what Bigfooting is.
I can't stand that shitting on the fans, man. I'll tell you what, Kevin Owens does the exact opposite. He respects the fans.
Okay, all right.
He's 300 times the wrestler that Eddie Kingston is.
Okay, Geno Smith's getting us off track. Two-beer, beat Tom Brady, get us on track.
Fucking soft bigotry, low expectations.
All right, okay, Geno, calm down. You had a hot week on Monday.
Glory. I said it again. That's 2 times.
That's twice.
Yeah. But they beat the Lucha Brothers, and this is pretty good. Swerve in Our Glory kind of, I think a lot of people expected them to have, they're like, oh my God, they're bringing on all this talent. What are you going to do with all these guys? And I think putting these guys together, despite the terrible name, was pretty good because they're a really good team. And they'll probably have a nice rivalry shortly because they're probably not long for the belts. But, this was solid. I think spot of the night was like right towards the climax of this, or it was the climax of this match before the finish, where Phoenix does a Spanish fly with Swerve off the top rope, and then what's his name? Penta jumps off of Phoenix's back to do a Canadian destroyer on the Keith.
Unbelievable.
Keith Lee essentially had the backflip onto his own head.
Yes.
That's how that move
Yes.
works, is you backflip onto your own head.
Unbelievable. I don't think
between that and him throwing Ray Phoenix like a spear into the pin that was happening on the inside, those were some highlights of the night.
This is Keith Lee doing what Keith Lee was always capable of doing, and honestly, it's more fun than him being a NXT champion or a main eventer in WWE. I would rather him be a tag team wrestler and do shit like this. It's more fun to me. I think that he's exactly where he should be. Not saying that he doesn't have a main event run in him or anything, but I really like Swerve in Our Glory. Swerve in Our Glory. I got it out. I really like them as a team, and I really like them as a heel team, and I just hope this is going to sound, because my thoughts on the Acclaimed are well documented. I just hope that Tony Khan doesn't try to get too cute with this and have Swerve in Our Glory win again next week against the Acclaimed. I think you got to strike while the iron's hot and put the belts on the Acclaimed because they are fucking hot.
I was going to ask one question, but I'll ask two. I'll just throw it out there. Either one of you guys can start. I'll just, like I said, that second one was crazy. I'll start with that first. You said Swerve in Our Glory. I can say it. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not a huge fan of the fucking name, but I can say it. It's not killing me. They're going to be
fucking
a
bullshit.
heel tag team. Damn it!
I won't do it anymore.
No, I love it. You keep doing that shit. Press that motherfucking button all night long. You said they were going to be a heel tag team. A few weeks ago, we kind of assumed that Keith Lee would be the baby face, and then Swerve would be the heel once, shit started to go left. Are you saying that Keith Lee is going to be down with Swerve Strickland at that point?
I'm saying if you're booking the territory, you have to ride the wave. And all of a sudden, something very organic happened, which is the Acclaimed with Billy Gunn got the fuck over.
Right.
Whatever it was.
Right.
Scissor me daddy ass.
Whatever.
Got the fuck over.
Rusev Day.
So now you have to ride that wave, and I think that you keep Swerve and Keith Lee as heels together. Yes.
Two Beer, what do you think?
Because then you have this storyline that you can come back to, assuming everybody stays healthy, come back to in 3 months' time or so.
And
I mean, you strike while the iron's hot. I mean, there were so many people arguing that he should have changed his plans based on crowd reaction 10 days ago. And then he booked an immediate rematch. I don't think he'll get super cute with this. I think this is, I don't want to say a correction, but I think just an acknowledgement, like now is the time.
Yeah. I mean, ride the wave.
Okay.
Ride the snake.
You said something else that kind of perked my attention, and I'll just throw it out there once again. Would you rather see Keith Lee on the main roster chasing Roman Reigns, or be in this current situation right now being the tag team champion? Zach goes first.
Well, for him, probably chasing Roman Reigns because it's a bigger paycheck, I would assume.
No.
If
what would
he's
you
motivated
rather
by.
see? What would you rather see?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, there's that. But for me, yeah, it's a lot of fun right now. Triple H is letting those boys go now. A little bit better, as evidenced by 20-minute matches between Gargano and Gable. Stuff like that. But I agree with Bill. Besides, like, any of the indie stuff that I look up to look back on, because I didn't watch Keith Lee before he was in NXT.
Right.
Me
But
neither.
any of that indie stuff that you look back on,
I've seen a
and
couple
the
of
NXT
matches.
stuff
Nothing crazy.
is super fun. And this is great. He wouldn't be able to do the same stuff in WWE. So for me, this is good.
Bill?
Yeah, I mean, the same. It's like you're not asking me what I would like better for Keith Lee as a
what would you rather
for his
see?
pocketbook. I'd rather see him in AEW working with Swerve Strickland as a tag team, and then, like I said last week, like there's something really, really fun about seeing something naturally get over, organically get over that's not planned, and then having to see the people work with it on the fly, like having to see Swerve all of a sudden flip heel because the other guy flipped babyface. And Jason, you always bring this up on the podcast, like Rock Hogan at WrestleMania. It's like everybody started cheering Hogan, and then Rock he went into the match as a babyface, and then he fought the match as a heel.
It's one of my favorite matches of all time.
Yeah, and it's very cool to watch because that kind of shit can only happen in professional wrestling.
Right.
So as much of a non-fan as I am of the Acclaimed, I don't hate the guys. They're just not my cup of tea.
Right.
And I don't root for them per se, but I would be rooting for them. I ended up rooting for them the other night at All Out because I wanted to see the crowd pop, because seeing the crowd pop is fun.
That'd been a monster pop.
So I'd rather see Keith Lee where he is now. I think they look badass when they walk out. Swerve doing his whole Swerve thing, and Keith Lee walking out with the big hood on and just looking mean as fuck and old as and big as fuck. Not old, but
fist pound, go down in the ring, kick your ass, take names.
And plus that match against Lucha Brothers,
it was a good match.
That's a professional wrestling match.
It was a good match.
It fucking rules.
No, it was a good match.
So I'd rather see him there.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Two Beard, go ahead.
All right, what do we have next? We had tag team Tony Storm and Athena versus Serena Deeb and Britt Baker. So mostly this existed as a continuation of the Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter storyline. But Britt Baker and Serena Deeb went over, pretty much, just like I said, overshadowing kind of the title picture. I know that they're kind of fighting over who's going to go for the title, but Britt Baker is in the most intriguing storyline in the women's division right now. And part of that is because Jamie Hayter, the fans are really behind her. I'm behind her, but it is interesting that it is kind of the focal point. What do you guys think?
No, it was just like Bill was talking about with who we were just talking about, just organically getting over, just talking about it. God damn
Jamie
it.
Hayter?
Well, no, not Jamie Hayter, but before that, I'll think about it in 30 seconds.
Swerve in Our Glory.
Yeah, well, no, the Acclaim with Scissor Me Daddy. Okay, that
yes.
Organically got over. Jamie Hayter has kind of organically gotten over as well. I know Jamie Hayter because I watched Stardom and I've seen her before the pandemic happened and the world changed. So I was already a Jamie Hayter fan coming in. Now, and I've said it before on this podcast, I was really disappointed with the way Jamie Hayter has been booked up until this point. Now we have intrigue. The problem with this is that it's around Britt Baker. Two problems with this match for me personally, and then, when Bill comes back, I'll pass the mic. Number one, my biggest problem with this is Athena is the biggest loser of this match. She didn't take the pin, but when she was trying to kick Serena Deeb off of the submission she had on Tony Storm, that did nothing. She got super kicked in the face. Okay, that is what it is. But then, post-match, she came back and started to jump the heels and then got worked again. Look, I'm not asking for Athena to be the champion. I'm just asking, especially after she got worked at All Out, you need to have her be strong as humanly possible. She's walking out with these busted-ass wings that Jay broke on the way to All Out. She got worked at All Out. And now the next time we see her, one of the few times we see her on Dynamite, this is how, for me, it's now getting to the point where if there's any time that an interim champion loses, it might be this time because Britt Baker's the person that could take it off her, and then you can go back to Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker at that point. I don't think it's going to happen, but I guess there's the third thing. Tony Storm looks really weak.
That's an intriguing idea for sure because, Tony Storm eating the pin was surprising for sure.
Right. I thought Athena would eat the pin. You keep Tony Storm strong. You keep all these women in one spot. And now, obviously next week, we're going to have the Fatal 4-Way minus Jamie Hayter with these same four women in the same match. I would think that you would go straight up Serena Deeb versus Tony Storm, and then you can have some backstage, nonsense with Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. But that's why I'm talking on the mic, and Tony Khan is running the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Tony Storm a lot. I love her entrance music. I think she's a star. but
She
it
doesn't
is
feel like a
interesting.
star, though. Does she feel like a star to you right now?
No, what I'm saying is Britt Baker has always managed to overshadow like every woman in that whole division.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that. Britt Baker is the face of the women's division. Just
none of them, but I mean, almost to the detriment. The only other one that feels like a star is Jade, and she's like super green, just because of like her like star presence and her aesthetic. But everybody else doesn't feel like a star. Go ahead.
I think that they need to shake it up every once in a while on Dynamite and open up the show with a women's match or close the show with a women's match. Like, that's the only way to make them feel like a big deal. Toni Storm feels like a big deal, but she
ate the pin.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. I'm saying that he always, and when I say he, I mean Tony Khan, he always tucks the women's stuff into that 1 hour and 15 to 1 hour and 40 minute spot on the show.
We said it like a couple weeks ago. It's 8:30 our time, Central Standard Time.
It's like, oh, no, it's the women's part of the show, you know, so.
For sure.
He's got to do a better job.
It's weird that he doesn't change that because he gets major criticism about it all the time.
He did it like a couple weeks ago, and we were like, oh, you know, look at the women's match. It's earlier than it usually is. But he's got to start making something feel like a bigger deal there, because there's two people that feel like three. I'm sorry.
He's gonna need a little bit more variety.
Britt Baker, Jade, and Thunder Rosa are the big deal in the women's division. Outside of that,
I don't even think Thunder Rosa is a star, but
I don't think so. I was gonna say I don't think that about Thunder Rosa either.
He does, though.
I will say that it is important that they do that, I think, relatively soon and whip up some interest and some stories, because Triple H is putting way more of a focus on women's wrestling than Vince ever did, and he's giving more time to matches. Like, you know, if you want to watch women's wrestling and you're not somebody that wants to, you know, watch Stardom or Subs to Stardom, which is phenomenal. Even the promos are subtitled in English. It's very easy to follow. It's great. But if you're somebody that wants to catch something that's on your TV, like I think WWE right now is like the best place for women's wrestling. I know Impact gets a lot of love, but WWE, the talent level is just out of whack. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not even a question. Like, I was thinking today as I was watching Dynamite, because I didn't watch it last night, I was like, well, you know, because I saw this tag team match coming up, and I was like, man, do I really want to watch this? Do I have time to watch it? You know, like, I'm working, and it's like, well, I don't know how much time I have, like, to devote to actually pay attention to this stuff. Like, there's some matches that will go on in the background while I'm working and talking to people and stuff, but I was like, would I feel the same way if it was Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey? And this, it's like, no, I wouldn't. Not at all. No, I would want to watch this. I would pause it. If I was talking to somebody, it would not be going on in the background. It's like, no, I would watch Bianca Belair fight anybody. Basically, I would watch Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair if they were motivated, and if it was going to be a good match. I would
you said if they were motivated.
Well, I mean that basically about Charlotte, because Charlotte.
You said Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Yeah,
Charlotte's not always motivated.
With Becky Lynch, I think she's going to be motivated, just a smidge.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
So, anyway,
but Bianca Belair is, if she's in the match that means anything, it's must-see TV, though, because that's how good of an athlete that she is, and that's how good of a professional wrestler that she is.
WWE Women's Wrestler of the Year, as far as I'm concerned, right now.
No doubt. And Io Shirai, to me, is the same type of wrestler. Like, I want to watch Io Shirai wrestle in wrestling matches.
She's been a little off on the main roster.
We're not picking nits here.
No, I know. I said
I'm not.
I said a little off. I said a little.
All right, what's next, Zach?
Next we had the main event, Chris Jericho versus Bryan Danielson, and a much better match than they had 10 days previously at All Out. This was awesome. I mean, this is the kind of shit that, you know, in like a couple of years or whatever, you know, like in hindsight, you'll be talking about AEW because everything like falls off. Like AEW is not going to be like awesome like forever. It could be good for like a very long time, but there'll be times where like, remember whenever like Punk went off the rails and then all of a sudden we just got like Jericho and Moxley in a Jericho and Danielson in the main event that was awesome. Like it's the kind of shit that we'll like talk about. But I like this match a lot better than the pay-per-view. I don't know what you guys thought, but Danielson taps out Chris Jericho, and it will now be it will now be Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. I keep transposing their names and interposing their names because they're all three phenomenal, like top-level wrestlers. You couldn't make a bad choice if you were to put the belt on any one of them right now. So
I thought that this match played into Chris Jericho's strengths a lot more than the match at All Out. I think like the All Out match tried to be a little bit more quick with some more stuff going on.
Catch can. I can't pronounce it, but
this match was definitely more strategic in terms of Danielson trying to work down Jericho's arm so that he could put on the label lock, which he eventually did. And Jericho basically just being a dickhead heel and just doing a lot of stuff that was ineffectual. Ineffective. Is ineffectual a word? Yes, it is, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Ineffectual to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho kept trying to do stuff to Daniel Bryan that just was not working. And I thought they told a good story, and this was a much better match than their all-out match. It wasn't a 5-star classic. It was good,
no.
though. Better.
I'll push back a little bit on the ineffectual portion of the program when Bryan Danielson jumped out on the outside to the
ineffectual bullshit.
When Bryan Danielson jumped out to get Chris Jericho at one point, he twisted his ankle or whatever, and then that was the second part of this match of the main event where Jericho saw this, and he was in the ring. You can see like Jericho's like, in the ring was like, what? What the fuck's going on? It's like, oh, blood in the water. And he went outside and he pushed all the guys aside.
And Regal's saying, I can't blame him for doing this.
That shit. Yep. And it was it's what a heel would do. Drug his ass back in the ring, walls of Jericho, single leg crab. I'm putting, was the calf crusher on it, on the single leg crab. So, I mean, at that point, that's where I'm going to push back a little bit on the ineffectual portion of the program. That's when the match started to really get interesting. Was it too short? Because in this scenario, not knowing what happened, you got Jericho versus Moxley. You kind of been there, done that. Bryan Danielson versus Moxley is fresh. And I'm like, okay, this is the match I kind of want to see. But now in kayfabe style, you have Bryan Danielson all jacked up. So ultimately, like I said, I'll push back on the ineffectual part of the program. Outside of that, I think they did this match as good as you could possibly do it.
You like it better than the all-out match?
I like the psychology in this match better. It's two guys wrestling. I mean, at the end of the day, the Lionheart,
Thanks.
the Lionheart portion, the Lionheart portion of the program, I think gets a little too much love. I don't think it's stood up this time around against Bryan Danielson for whatever reason. Like you said, it just didn't work. But I think the second time around, especially with the jacked up ankle, it worked a little better.
Zach, any final thoughts on, okay, so we're going to have an all Blackpool Combat Club final.
I got Danielson.
Moxley came in. They shook hands. I think we all said at the beginning we all have Danielson.
I'll say Moxley will play the heel at some point because the ankle will come into play.
Also, it kind of looks like Moxley has a bad handshake. Do you think that's possible?
What do you consider a bad handshake?
Like a dead fish.
No, hell no, man. It's Jon Moxley. No,
I don't know. I had a. It's fucked up that this has to be a weird thing to say. I had a priest when I was in grade school who used to say when you shake somebody's hand, Like, squeeze it, make it a little firm.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. Upon retro,
He's like, but you
Monday
don't.
night quarterback.
But
yeah,
you
it sounds horrible.
don't want to give him the dead fish. Like
Yeah.
you know, like give him a good handshake.
Yeah.
You know, like
Look-
you have
look
a great
somebody in the eye.
you have a great handshake. I've shook your hands plenty of times. Yeah, you have a great handshake.
Thank you. You do the same.
When it looked like Danielson and Moxley were shaking hands, it looked like Moxley had a bit of a dead fish. You ever met somebody
You're
that just
saying-
shake their hand? You're like, oh, god damn, that's not a handshake.
I would expect a woman to have the dead fish handshake.
It looked like Moxley had the dead fish. Go back and watch it.
Two
Like
beer.
an Orange Cassidy handshake.
Oh, that's the one thing we didn't talk about. Thank you, Two Beer. I wanted to jump on there for 30 seconds. Orange Cassidy knocks out Pac backstage.
Yep.
So we're going to have, instead
match
of
next week.
Ethan Page versus Pac, we're going to have Pac versus Orange Cassidy. Pac is kind of not necessarily wanting to fuck with Orange Cassidy, and now you got to.
They're going to have an awesome match.
Yes,
I think it's
they are
gonna be
going to
really
have an
good.
awesome match. Is that
Is that a Rampage?
I think it's on Rampage.
Wow. Okay, well.
I mean, that seems like a way to get people to watch.
Why? Yeah,
Rampage.
that's
Well,
you stole my thunder.
Tony Khan said he was going to start stacking Rampage with good matches again, and it started this week because that Claudio Dax Shepard match was really good.
And then he suspended 20% of his star power.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, look, I thought about it when the elite comes back.
Zach didn't even trip off me saying Dax Shepard.
Right.
Yeah.
When the elite comes back, who's going to win? Who has the titles? Pac, who has a long-term running feud with Kenny Omega, and the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. Psh, please.
Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
All right, I just want to say that it's really nice to have gone through this entire podcast and not have to talk about CM Punk. So here's PWI's 500. PWI 500.
Until now.
We're just going to read off the top 20, and I'm going to read these real fast. So if you have to rewind it, go ahead and rewind it, but I'm going to read these off real fast, and then we're going to talk about it. 1 is Roman Reigns. 2 is Kazuchika Okada. 3 is CM Punk. 4 is Hangman Adam Page. 5 is Bobby Lashley. 6 is Cody Rhodes. 7 is Danielson. 8 is Vikingo, El Mijo Vikingo, I think is.
CM, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He's from Lucha Libre. 9 is Big E. 10 is Gresham. 11 is Shingo Takagi. 12 is John Moxley. 13 is Matt Cardona. 14 is Josh Alexander. 15 is Tanahashi. 16 is MJF. 17 is Seth Rollins. 18 is Adam Cole.
Baby!
19 is Omega, and 20 is Drew McIntyre. The first thing that pops off here is that Moxley is at 12. He's out of the top 10. PWI has come out and said that the reason, this...
No, state the criteria.
We talk about this every year.
State the criteria.
This is a slash shoot slash kayfabe. So if you hold a title for a long time, you're going to be higher on this list. It also has to do with like crowd reactions and shit like this. This is how they do this. I think that this is why they did this is so because there's so many wrestling podcasts, but we appreciate you guys listening to ours. There's so many wrestling podcasts that they like doing this so that we'll talk about it. Leaving John Moxley out, they said that John Moxley missed a lot of time. How much time has Big E missed? I mean, he's missed a fucking ton of time. John Moxley being number 12 is stupid. Kazuchika Okada is probably the best wrestler in the world. You can have arguments about that, but nobody argues that he's one of the top 10. But having him at number 2 when he hasn't held the belt for a while is also kind of ridiculous. I'll also say that Will Ospreay is nowhere on this top 20, which is also pretty stupid. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself. But, I agree with your sentiments. I hadn't, studied this list. I posted it on Friends of BFR thinking it would get a lot more debate than it actually did. But a couple things that do stand out to me. I actually, even despite all the bullshit with Punk, I would have put Punk over Okada. I know Okada, won the G1, but that was, it was like back to back. But at the same time, this most recent one was not on there because it was like June to June. So it wasn't that he did the back to back. It was the first one, and then he won that final because like Kota Ibushi broke his arm. It was like a great up until then. Or broke his shoulder, but anyway. Punk sold out the United Center on like just the rumor that he might be there. I think that's like absolutely huge. He was definitely a big, ratings mover and ticket seller for AEW over the past year. So it's weird to just talk shit about CM Punk for weeks and then be like, yeah, he should have actually been number 2 on the PWI 500. But it's funny looking at these as like a jaded podcast wrestling host who uses insider terms versus whenever I looked at it whenever I would subscribe to Pro Wrestling Illustrated when I was a kid, and the PWI 500 was like the primo issue of the year. It was like 3 times as thick as like any other issue. It was like getting a goddamn book of Latter-day Saints in the mail or something, just like a real
Hold
thick,
on, let me ask
bastard.
let me ask Eddie Kingston, is it okay to use the term pop?
Wow.
Can we use the term pop, Eddie
Wow.
Kingston, like we're one of the boys?
Wow. I thought I was the dog with the bone on most podcasts. Oh, no. This is episode 274. Bill has a bone. AEW Dynamite.
There's still some meat on that bone.
I mean, I don't
Find
know,
me,
man.
Kingston. Find me.
I don't know. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Flabby bastard.
I'll let you finish it, and I'll jump in on here in 30 seconds.
But, Matt Cardona being over Seth Rollins is kind of hilarious. But,
It really
I don't know.
is.
Okay.
And I'm not disagreeing with it or anything. I'm just
I would
saying,
love to see Matt Cardona / Zack Ryder's last 15 years on the PWI 500. I would love to see it. He had that huge GCW match where everybody threw trash at him in the ring, and that's huge. And I am not taking anything away from Matt Cardona. I'm not even saying that number 13 is wrong for him to have. I would just love to see what his past 15 years have been, because he's a guy that's been in the business for 15 years.
I'm sure this is.
He used to fight Tyler Rex.
I'm sure
He used
this
to be in
is
the tag
his.
team with Tyler Rex, I think.
This is his highest, PWI ranking of all time up to this point.
surely, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of this is part kayfabe, part not kayfabe. In no particular order, you have to, and this is how this PWI is broken down. It's wins and losses, it's technical ability, it's influence on the game, so on, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so for me, Roman Reigns obviously is number 1, and this goes, and there's a time frame on this too.
There's no doubt he's number 1.
From, I think it's like June or July 2021 to June of 2022. Okay, Roman Reigns obviously is number 1. Shouldn't be a doubt. Like him, don't like him. It is what it is. Roman Reigns is number 1. Okada number 2. Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. Punk at 3. I get it. He came back at this time frame. He won the championship. I get it. The only one from Punk, Page, Lashley at 5. He won the title twice, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. Or he won the title twice at this point. Cody Rhodes at 6. I get it. Danielson at 7. I get it. Vikingo at 8. I get it. Big E, God bless you. This is where we got the problem. If there's anybody that should be out of this top 10 and Moxley comes in, this is where we have to go with it. If we're doing a...
Vikingo, you get it?
I do. No.
You get it.
No, I really do.
Yeah, you're fine with it.
Look.
You're fine with it.
Go to...
You're just you're not fine with Big E, but you're fine with Vikingo.
He wrestled in
a guy
this
that's never
time
been
frame.
mentioned. A guy that's never been mentioned on this podcast
in this
one time.
Frame, and Big E has been out.
We are fucking hipsters. We are wrestling hipsters to the nth degree.
For 6 months.
And Vikingo.
John Moxley is trying. I'm trying to put John.
I've never
Moxley
even heard
in,
of him.
And I'm putting John Moxley in behind this dude. Okay.
But you're fine with Vikingo. Okay. All
yes, without question. He wrestled in this 12-month time frame.
All
Big E has wrestled, 3 times in 3 months? And then when he wrestled as champion, he lost every single time until he finally coughed it up?
Can I see the weed?
Man, goddamn. Okay, look, I get it. And I know Jonathan Gresham was the running joke around here for a hot minute.
No,
but Jonathan Gresham
didn't win the belt until ROH's last thing.
Ability is a part
but
of
he didn't. But he didn't win the belt until ROH's last pay-per-view.
Go back and look at the PWI 500.
Big Vikingo mark over here.
Look, it's not even that.
Come on.
It's not even that. They're giving you the criteria. It's wins and losses. It's technical ability. It's influence on the game. You can laugh at me all you want to, but go look and check this shit out. By all means, laugh at me if you want to. I'm just saying that there is a method behind the madness.
Well, I think that's why. I think that's why they left Moxley off the top 10, so we could talk about it. They know they normally. Okay.
Ultimately, we're going to talk about it.
Let's hear Zach's thoughts.
It's funny. I wasn't even tripping off Vikingo until you said he's never been mentioned on this podcast.
Not one time.
And we've been talking for like 270 hours a week for 5 years.
274 episodes.
He's number 8. Jason's like, I got no problem with Vikingo. Number 8.
No problem.
Number 8. Come on.
We didn't even bring him up. Just rattling off names in a match.
No.
Never came up.
He's never come up.
Zero problem with it.
Oh, shit. I've seen him wrestle. I don't watch that stuff a lot, but sometimes you're in the mood for it. There's a lot of good shit on YouTube, but that just cuts right to the core. Yeah, he's out. Get him out of there. All right.
And then you're putting Moxley in his spot and Big E that hasn't wrestled in almost a calendar year. I'll just say 6 months. I'll say 6 months. Big E has been out.
That was my point. My point was Moxley's left out of it. I really think that they thought there's so many wrestling podcasts, if we leave Moxley out of the top 10, because obviously they're not.
Where the fuck was Jay White? Where the fuck is Will Ospreay?
Obviously, they're not taking into account all the indie stuff that Moxley's been doing over the past year. For whatever reason, they're not taking that into account. Or they just sat around and they said, if we leave him out of the top 10, more people will talk about the PWI 100 or 500.
And they got to be paying attention to it because they got Cardona, and like Moxley's been GCW champion for a long time.
Yes.
He's not ready to have a title versus career match versus Nick Gage, which is probably going to roll.
Other than that, I think Tanahashi being at 15 is
a little high.
To leave Ospreay out and put Tanahashi in when Tanahashi's sole point now is basically to put guys over, it seems weird to leave him out when Ospreay is doing the work of his life. And also, Kenny Omega has also been out forever. June to June. He missed 9 of those months. 8 of those months or something. Like, they're putting him in at number 19? Drew McIntyre should be higher.
No Ospreay is wild.
No Ospreay is wild. And having Shingo in there at 11 and no Ospreay is wild. Now, Shingo, it's well established on this podcast how much I like Shingo.
We all love him.
But he took the belt off Yano, and now he's holding Yano's belt. Dude, the KOPW belt.
Don't make me throw this motherfucker down. I'll say
that's
his fucking Achilles heel. You need to just gift that Joker back to Yano.
Queen Elizabeth died, and now the only royal that I recognize is the King of Pro Wrestling, Shingo Takagi.
Kiss my ass. You ain't shit.
Anyway, it's fun that Josh Alexander's on there.
As the only Impact guy that watches the shit.
And we saw him.
Yeah, I like Josh Alexander. I don't know if he's going to go to AEW or WWE. But
if they really wanted to troll everybody, they should have put CM Punk at number 1.
No. You
Came
can't.
out this week.
You
Just
can't.
CM Punk at number 1.
You can't.
Oh,
if
man.
If you're going to do a criteria
that'd be so good.
and talk about wins and losses, we were talking about when's the last time Roman Reigns lost.
I'm happy to see Bobby Lashley at 5. Bobby Lashley had a great year. He really did. He did great work.
In this PWI, whatever it's June to July or whatever, in that 12 months, Bobby Lashley has come back to where I thought he should have been walking in the door the first time.
I really want to see
Oh,
the rest. I really want to see the rest. I want to see the rest of this list.
That almost Lashley trilogy, that was like Omega Okada stuff. It was so good. They need a fourth one too.
No,
Can we get Zach to pronounce OMOS one more time, please?
Say that name one more time.
I literally don't even know how I said it.
You said almost.
As in
Absolute fucking bullshit. Unprofessional bullshit.
dude, that's the great.
Almost.
As in ALMOST.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. Which would not be a bad name for a wrestler. Almost.
Almost came back on Monday nights.
Almost would be better a name for him.
Do we have any interest in Almost versus Braun Strowman?
Cody Rhodes at 6 makes total sense to me. He
I'm
had
fine
3
with it.
bangers of matches.
Yeah.
I would love to see Kevin Owens in here, just because he had a huge WrestleMania, just a massive WrestleMania.
Wins and losses is a part of this deal. That's why Seth Rollins is lower than what I think he would be. I think he's a top 10 guy in the world at the bare minimum. In this case, he's 13.
I just really like when I'm sitting around late at night and there's nothing to watch and my wife's asleep and I might be kind of high or kind of drunk. I love putting on Kevin Owens, Steve Austin. Like it's like comfort food to me. Like it is it's so nice to watch. It's so fun to watch.
Nothing in Kevin Owens' life will be better than that. He's got multiple kids. He eclipsed all their childbirths. He eclipsed his marriage to a super hot wife. He got to retire Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania in amazing match.
What do you mean he retired him?
So good.
Hey, Zach.
Austin won.
That segment at WrestleMania eclipsed my child's birth.
Oh, Jesus
and I wasn't even there at WrestleMania.
Oh,
I was just watching it on TV.
See, for any woman that is like, straight.
I would let a million kids fart in my daughter's face. I'm obsessed with farting.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with farting and Kevin Owens.
I would be like,
marry me.
If the Rock and
you heard him,
Austin, I'm sorry, Rock and Hogan is the greatest match I've ever seen in my life. If I ever got married, I would say marriage would be the next step up. If I ever had kids, it'd be like, Austin, Rock, Hogan third, marriage, kids. You motherfuckers got all shit fucked up.
PWI 500 is not out yet. We only have the top 20. None of us have seen anything else, right? I want everybody to give a guess as to what number 21 is.
Do you know?
No, I don't. I'm going to say Will Ospreay. That's going to be my guess.
No. I was about to say, I think they jacked this thing all up. It's an AEW guy. I'll go. We already said Kenny Omega.
Darby Allin?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go Darby Allin.
I mean, it really could be either one of those guys, or those guys could be at 80 or something. I have no idea. What do you think, Zach?
I'll go Zach Harwood.
Ooh.
Not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. Oh, okay, that's going to do it for our 3 count.
I love that.
I have one more question for you guys.
2, 3.
They are getting ready to announce the World Tag League lineup for NJPW. Currently, FTR is the IWGP champion. NJPW, IWGP, same thing. Do we see them in the World Tag League? Do they drop the belts beforehand? Or do they keep the belts and not show up in the World Tag League, which is basically the G1 for tag teams in NJPW? Zach, or Jason, what do you think?
I I don't know if Zach knows this, but I saw this online. Aussie Open versus FTR is one of the matches at Royal Quest. It's coming up here in the next couple weeks. It's for the IWGP Championships. Obviously, it has connections with New Japan and the Stardom crossover tournament for the first IWGP Championship for the ladies. Neither here nor there. I'll say this much. If I had to take a guess, if you're going to do it, this is the time to do it. FTR is one that, I won't say one of. They are the best.
They'd
tag
have to be
team.
gone from AEW for like 5 weeks, though.
Have we seen them? I mean, they're not the champions, though. So, I mean, it's not like you need to see FTR on AEW champion.
Should have put a time limit on this. Like
Look.
90 seconds for Jason to talk to himself.
Look, I think at this point.
Do you think they're in
yes.
there or not?
Yes.
If you had to put $5 on it,
I'll
you would
put
say
$20
yes.
on it. Yes.
You'd say that FTR
Yes.
is in the World Tag League for
will
NJPW.
they will beat Aussie Open at Royal Quest and then come into World Tag League as champions.
I mean, I can't wait to see FTR versus Techers. Zach, do you think they're in the World Tag League?
I'm so confident that I will.
Oh shit! Oh Jesus! I said $20.
I will take a picture of my genitals and I'll put a time release on it in the hands of a third party. And if they do not
Who's the
end
third
up
party,
in the
Zach?
World Tag League,
Who's the third party?
but
It wasn't
here's
even
the thing: if they
no, we're gonna
don't,
let you finish. Like, who's the motherfucker's got to hold this
that
time bomb?
picture is going to be mailed to all of my wife's family and every child in my daughter's school. And I will risk being a sex offender.
That's how sure you are?
That's how sure I am. No, I'm actually not that sure.
Yeah, right.
Was that the Nathan for you where he
Easy,
risks
big
being a
fella.
sex offender,
Yeah.
but he's got to get out of the handcuffs?
I just watched.
You
I
remember
just
what we
watched
had
that
to do
skit.
for Bill
I just
when
watched that skit
he
that
started to
just
go
killed me.
rogue on us.
It's incredible, right?
It's so good. He's like lots of magicians risk their lives, but none of them will risk being put on a list for being a registered sex offender.
Okay, so
All right, Zach, give me a give me a percentage on FTR.
I still think they're in there. I'll say 90% that they're in
Ooh,
there. I
sounds
think
like somebody's in for $10.
I'm in for
All right,
10.
Jason's in for 20, Zach's in for 10. I'll take you both on $30. They're not in it.
dude, I mean, if you're gonna get worked over by Eddie Kingston, can I get my money up front?
Fucking bullshit.
They're
Unprofessional
gonna want
bullshit.
them in the Tokyo Dome. You know, like
I'm not gonna be in the Tokyo Dome. I want my money
Not
before.
you.
Wait,
I'm
what you just
saying-
say to me about Eddie Kingston?
If you're gonna catch that work from Eddie Kingston, can I get?
Catching no work from that fucking slob.
If you're gonna catch that work from Eddie Kingston, can we get our money up front? That's all I want. I mean, if I don't get my $20, I want it before you get killed.
He's like Slimer without the sense of humor.
Wow.
Find me, Kingston.
Oh boy.
Pop, heel, face.
Oh my God.
Going into business for themselves. Potato.
you're getting major heat.
I'm using all the terms.
right. I say somebody cut Tom Brady off. He's mad at the kids.
This is banned from ringside.
Hey, everybody, we got some birthdays this week.
Some people might be alive.
Oh, come on, man. I'm done. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm done.
Well,
I'm done with
oh,
that.
We got the birthday. The gentleman sitting right across from me right now.
Man, look, is it November?
Teddy Long. Holla, 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 holla.
You ain't shit. Fuck you.
Adrian Adonis.
Nope. I'm not going to
You're
do
not
it.
even going to guess?
Nope. I know. I know what the
Tell
answer
me.
is.
Tell me.
I don't know what. Look,
He's 68.
good. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll guess.
Maybe he
I'll
would
guess
be
ages.
68.
I'll guess ages, but I'm not doing dead
Jim
or alive
Cornette.
anymore.
You're going to be wrong about this one. Jim Cornette.
He's dead.
Never mind. There's a joke there.
Watch him be dead now, and
Yeah,
this is like
right.
the first breaking news story. Like, and I get
Okay.
investigated.
62.
Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Hello, everybody. Zach Pullman of Band from Ringside podcast just reported that Jim Cornette is dead
What?
at age 61. He's only 61.
Damn. See, I was really close. I said 62.
Gerald Briscoe, who is killing it on Twitter, by the way. Very good Twitter follow. If you don't follow Gerald Briscoe, is 76.
I think it's him or he's got a handler.
Yeah.
No, there's no way.
I mean,
There's no
it
way
might be.
he's-
It
there's
might
no
be that.
way.
But who's his handler? Like a grandkid or something?
Look, whoever it is, give them
He's
that
not
motherfucker
paying
the props.
anybody. He's not rich. He lives in a house like mine.
Look.
Might have a better TV.
Look.
It's like Ron Funches or something doing his Twitter.
Uncle
Hey,
Gerald.
Gerald Briscoe, come find me.
Oh, Jesus.
You stooge.
Come on, man. Stop.
Oh, you work stiff, huh?
Ah, damn.
You work stiff. Eva Marie, alive, is 38. Wish her the best. I can't believe she's that old. Renee Young, Mrs. John Moxley. Mrs. John Moxley, Mrs. Dean Ambrose. Renee Young in talks to come back to WWE right now.
Okay.
No shit. Those are the rumors.
that's
She's
what's up.
37. Arn Anderson. This one surprised me, too. How old do you think Arn Anderson is?
69.
Absolute fucking bullshit. Unprofessional bullshit.
No, Zach. He's not 69. How old do you think he is, Jason?
65.
64. Good guess. That's a really good guess.
So lucky.
Greg the Hammer Valentine. Now, alive or dead?
No.
This is a
Dead.
tough one.
No.
Dead.
Not doing it.
Are you sure, Zach, or are
Dead.
you guessing?
I'm sure.
I don't know. Should I look it up?
Sure.
We'll go with Zach. He's dead. If
think
he's
I'll go with
alive,
Zach.
if he's alive at age 72, happy birthday, Greg the Hammer. And Ethan Page, the aforementioned, is 33.
He's alive. He's got health care. He's Canadian.
Hey, everybody, we know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to our podcast. For Murray the Murray Man Murray, because I forgot him last week. For Lucha Chris. For the Sideways in Time podcast. For Patriot Pat. For Tender Mahal. For
Double check.
Bo Vice.
My man,
Eastman.
double
Go
check.
check out your old Droog, Vice. I'm telling you, you're going to love that shit. Dropping 50 on the Shanghai Sharks. For Zach Pullman. For
Check.
Jason Bell.
Check.
Support your local restaurants, support
Check.
your local weed dealers,
Check.
Black Lives Matter,
Check.
and never forget to boo the heels.
I think it's so low at 13 is because a lot of this shit coming down the stretch, he lost. He lost to Cody 3 times.
Yeah, but that's not why he's at 13. He's at 13 because he didn't hold any belts at all.
Okay, more so to my point. So it's not like, they're off. We just don't agree. Big E is the only one. The other 9, I have no problem with
If you
it.
were saying right now who are the most influential wrestlers of 2022, it's Cody Rhodes is 1 and CM Punk is 2.
Where's Roman Reigns at?
Huh? I'm talking about influential. I'm talking
Where's
about
Roman Reigns
I'm
at?
talking about changing the conversation. The conversation has been changed twice this year. And that's
When's
not
the
even
last time
well,
we
then
had-
Vince McMahon might
When's
need
the
to be
last
number
time
3.
we had an undisputed champion?
No, I understand the kayfabe part of it, but the thing that I'm saying is that Cody Rhodes leaving AEW
It's huge. And
opened
that-
up everything. And when we talk about the beefer for the biggest scandal or the biggest news story or whatever it is,
There's only
we have
one.
3 huge ones. But it's CM Punk Scrum.
Okay.
It's Cody Rhodes leaving AEW, but
Okay.
it's Vince McMahon.
Okay.
But in any other year, any one of those 3 would be the biggest story of the year. Am I wrong, Zach?
Oh, this year has been crazy. Like the
We
Vince,
forgot
the
about
Cody, the Punk.
Shane McMahon getting ran out of fucking Royal Rumble in January.
That feels like 10 years ago.
Okay, that
feels
started
so
off
long
the
ago.
year. That was 2022. That started off our year. Okay?
It's funny.
Go
COVID
ahead.
made it like no news for 2 years, and now it's like we're in exponential news time. Like whenever we go back to think
Yeah.
about our year in review, it's going to be very hard.
It's going to be like, wait, when did that happened? That happened a long time ago.
It felt
Dude,
no,
Adam Cole, and I'm sorry, Adam Page, Bryan Danielson, like 60-minute draw, and the match after that
was not
happened this year.
Mm-hmm. Fucking A, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that was this year.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
What month was that?
January.
It was like in the middle of the year.
By the way, I started recording again. We're not giving this shit. We're not giving this shit away for free.
No, I'll just say this. For me, and that's where the crazy part about this whole thing is that a lot of this thing, when Shane McMahon got booted from the Royal Rumble for literally going into business for himself, that was like a huge deal.
You know what?
And it felt like it was going to be the top of the top.
We didn't even mention Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar could have easily been in that top 20.
Well,
Fought in some of the biggest matches of the year.
Time frame.
Did business.
Time frame, we have to take that into consideration. I think that's kind of what the problem with Will Ospreay.
But if he would have been
White.
number 8, you wouldn't have blinked. You'd been like, yeah, okay.
Probably not.
If he would have been number 18, you certainly wouldn't have blinked.
No, but once again, I think.
You got to get Vikingo in there, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Vikingo, he's had a hell of a year.
He has had a hell of a year.
I mean, you remember his August?
Shit, no joke. I'll say this.
Wrestling in some cafeteria in Monterey?
Okay, but then I'll say this. For guys that come back, Cena, Brock, these other guys.
That was so racist.
For these other guys that come back, you got to be able to understand that we got to stick to the criteria. It's not what we like or who we don't like or whatever. There's a list of the criteria that the PWI 500 is broken down with.
For what it's worth, my dad used to spend time in Monterey every single year for work, and he loved Monterey. It's the only reason I brought it up. I love the Mexican people. I love Mexico. I love the cartels. I've seen all the narcos.
And on this, like, little, I guess, episode, bonus episode, we could put the shit that I had on Anchor on this shit, so it's all encompassing. I'll just say this in closing. For me, I don't have a problem with the top 10 outside of Big E. If you're going to have a Moxley on the outside for missing 3 months, then Big E is the guy that's on the outside looking in for missing more than 3-6 months,
no
whatever
doubt.
The case may
Does
be.
not make any sense.
At all.
Totally
At
understand.
all.
He's just on there because he's so nice, and nobody wanted to do him dirty.
No.
Well, they say Vikingo tips 30% everywhere he goes.
It's not
That's
even
in
that.
pesos, though.
It's not even that.
No, U.S.
I want Big E to come back and come back healthy, but when he became champion, and here's my only problem with that, when he became champion, he lost a lot up until he coughed up the belt. To where now it's
Pretty
like
much lost every time.
right. So now how's he in the top 8 or top 10 and Moxley's out? That's where it doesn't make sense. Outside of that,
Big E energy.
look, I like Big Energy too. Shit, that's my dog. I want him to come back and come back healthy. If he doesn't come back, that's okay too. But he shouldn't be in this top 10. He just shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't
fun-worthy.
be. No, it's strange that he's in the top 10. It's also strange that Vikingo is in the top 10.
Not at all. Not at all.
Really? You're going to double down on this,
I'm going to double down on this shit. This is my stone cold lock of the week.
What, that you're going to double down on it?
Yeah. Go back and look at his shit. Okay, he's wrestled in this time frame of 12 months. He's wrestled all 12 months. He's obviously...
Name one of his matches.
Shit.
Yeah, fuck off, dude. Come on. You can't...
Can you name one? No, you can't.
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, so in this scenario, we're talking about...
And I'm a fucking mark, dude. I've never heard of him.
No, he wrestles in CMLL.
So I gotta get that deep into it.
No.
9 hours of wrestling in a 3-hour podcast isn't enough per week for me. I have to go seeking out Vikingo matches?
The top 10, one of the top 10 you don't know. The other 9 you do. Okay. The other 9 you know, and we could argue that shit.
Know.
And even with Jonathan Gresham, you guys ran down Jonathan Gresham.
So there's a guy that can show up in the top 10 that I've never heard of. You think that that's okay? You think that he deserves that 8 spot? I've never heard of him.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of cool because, like, you might be in the top 10 next year by those standards.
He's heating up.
I was going to say, I'm sorry you decided to have babies and get married and all that other shit.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
on you.
that's it.
That's on
it.
you.
Yes,
and
yes.
on you too, Zach.
That's it. Because if I wouldn't take my daughter to the park today, I would have been just sitting here glued to CMLL Vikingo matches.
Hey. Look.
Thinking, God, I might have to talk about this for 5 minutes on my
I'm
podcast.
Who's
that
this
6
number,
people
who's
listen
this
to.
Who's this guy that's number 8? It's not 6. It's 50. So let's get the number right. Number 1. Number 2.
Yeah.
If it's going to be somebody that's in the top 10, maybe you should be like, oh, who's this guy? Let's go on YouTube and check this shit out. Maybe.
I mean,
maybe
not now I will, but
okay,
him being number 8, you're fine with it, though. Just...
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, we got some birthdays this week. I'm kidding. We already did this part.
This motherfucker here.
Zach, can't wait to watch John Wick 4 with you. Are we going to wait to see it together? Or are we going to see it separately and then just dish on the phone?
I feel like we'd have to dish because otherwise that would be like a very extreme form of edging because I don't know when we'd be able to get together for that.
You're going to be here in October, I know. We do have to schedule a live podcast. Even if we do a weekly podcast, Zach, you're going to be in town in October, right?
I am for a few days. Going to From Dusk Till Dawn.
So even if Jason and I have to drive to you just to do a podcast about like our favorite shit, or we can just sit around bullshitting, you'd be down for that, right?
God damn.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I love how this motherfucker over here is,
I'm going to drive your black ass to rural Illinois, dude.
It's not even that. You get
They're
our
going to be
asses
watching
kicked.
you.
No, you are anointing us with getting our asses kicked with Eddie Kingston. So now we're like a fucking
They're going to be watching you like
Eddie
those
Kingston.
towers in Neverending Story that like just shoot down lasers and just kill the dude and the horse.
Have we watched? Yeah. Have we watched the House of not House of Black, but
Living Single?
No. You ain't shit. What's the Game of Thrones prequel?
Oh, House of the Dragon.
Yes or no?
No, I've been watching Rings of Power. So I haven't. I want to watch Rings or House of Dragon, but I'm watching Rings of Power.
I totally forgot about that
Dexter.
shit. You watched that, yeah? You like it or no?
Oh, it's legit, no doubt.
For somebody
Dexter and I are also watching Walking Dead right now, and I've never seen it, and he's never seen it. So like every night, we're just trying to crank out like 2 episodes, and we're living on a diet of The Walking Dead. So
Bernthal's in that, right?
I don't know.
I think John Bernthal's in that. I've never watched The Walking Dead. House of the Dragon's legit though.
No, I do like it.
It's a slow burn, but I kind of like the slow burn stuff in Game of Thrones. Like I much prefer like people talking in rooms than the dragon shit. Like,
The only thing I would say about House of Dragon is like it's going to have to, or at least what I think is going to happen is you're going to have to jump like time frames from where you're 12 to 16.
Does that bother you?
No, not at all. But I was just going to ask for
time might be moving a little faster for you these days.
It always does. For guys that read the book, does it bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me because this part wasn't part of the books.
Okay.
This was like a whole new book that came out in 2018 or something called Fire and Blood, where it's like really bare bones. It just tells the history of the Targaryens. And so like the show is filling it all in. But George R.R. Martin is actually like an active writer on the show. So it's like he's in control of his own mythology, which is pretty cool. It's a slow burn though. It's slow.
So far, so good. I have no problem with it. It's gotten a little interesting this week where I'm like, oh, you're doing what?
Absolute fucking bullshit. Unprofessional bullshit.
We ran out of gas here.
I tell you what, the wrestling community is actually decidedly less toxic than a portion of the hardcore Tolkien community, because I got online to talk about this Rings of Power or see what people were saying about it.
And
there's one subreddit. There's one subreddit where people are like giving it a bit of a doubt, like, yeah, it's a television adaptation. So excited to see this because I'm a fan. And then there's like one side where they're like, there's this guy, he was like, they're literally making up fiction. And I'm like, dude, the whole show is fiction. It's elves and dwarves and hobbits. Like, he's just so mad that it's not referencing a book that reads like a history novel. It's yeah. Anyway,
somebody got on Twitter the other day, like this right wing guy, and he had a real long thread about how, like, yeah, okay, now they're making hobbits black. He's like, but there's actually like it's one thing to call it reverse racism or something. Or he was like just talking total bullshit, and he goes, but this is something that already has races. So like replacing a white guy with a black guy in a show that already has orcs, elves, and whatever, he's like, that's even more racist. And I was like, dude, I quote tweeted it with in parentheses, orcs, elves, and hobbits. It's like, how can you argue this shit?
Yeah,
I'll tell
he's
you
ready
what,
to die on that hill.
for the new Game of Thrones, there are black characters, and nobody's even mentioning that they're black.
Not blinking a fucking inch.
Nope. It's like, and this chick's going to marry the black dude, and nobody's like, well, you can't do that because he's black.
I'm more tripping off of like, oh, she's 14. Damn. What
Well,
the
yeah,
fuck?
they tried to marry her off to her
Right.
toddler brother, too.
I'm like, dude, this is crazy. That's what I was not tripping off of color.
I thought, stop this. We're still recording. This is for all the super fans out there.
Right.
Hey, everybody have a real nice night.
Don't scare them away.
Absolute fucking bullshit. Unprofessional bullshit.